in the morning, 7:30.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Speakers and Leaders Hour. I'm Dave Wilkins, your host, and this is the program that comes into your home once a month on the first Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. And we're live here in the Allen County Public Library this evening from 7 to 8 p.m. That means that we can take your phone calls if you want to give us a call and chit-chat with us. We're a small group tonight, but we're mighty. I'm sitting here this evening with my friend Tom Haller, who's also the president of the Anthony Wayne Toastmaster Club. And Tom, it's always good to see you, and thank you for coming this evening. It's better than sitting here all by myself.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Appreciate being here.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying, this is a live show, so that number is 422-3902. If you want to give us a call, we can answer your questions about the Toastmaster organization or parliamentary procedure or both. And this is the first show of the new year. Wow. Can you imagine, Tom, 2016?
It's hard to imagine.
I thought the world was going to end by 2000, and I thought there'd be no more life or no more anything. And here we are 16 years later, still going strong. Okay. So let's see, the last time I saw you was the 17th of December, the week before Christmas Eve.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah. Have you been to any Toastmaster meetings since then?
Oh yeah, I've been to a few now. We started back up after the holidays. I was to the Red Cross meeting earlier today.
Okay.
Certainly some changes are going to take place in that club.
Oh really?
Yeah. Well, the president is taking a different job, and he's going to be leaving. One of the members is also taking the job, and there are a lot of accountants in that group. It's almost the accountants club. And they're, by and large, taking a sabbatical until after taxes from now until the middle of April.
Oh, my gosh. So that puts the club in really, really rough shape then, doesn't it?
Well, it's a very large club. The average attendance is still not going to be that bad. But
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes.
But will there be any leadership? Who's going to run the meeting?
Well, we talked about that today, and the vice president of education is going to take over for the president. Mm-hmm. I mean, we could have elected a new president, but they wouldn't get any TI credit for it being just a part of the year.
Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. You can do it without getting credit. Okay. Well, were you to other Toastmaster meetings?
That may have. Well, since I saw you last, I believe I was to Marlene Purdy's party for several clubs. I'm not sure if you were there.
No, Bernice and I did miss that. How was the party? What happened?
It was very nice. It was a combined party for the advanced speakers and leaders, the
Bob Lyman,
both the Bob Lyman Parliamentary Group and the Bob Lyman Toastmaster Club. And we had a good meeting.
Was it well attended?
It was very well attended.
How was the food?
The food was excellent. I mean, it was a carry-in with Marlene furnishing the main dishes, so.
Okay.
And the liquor, so,
Okay, so it was a good party.
It was a good party.
All right. And an exchange and everything?
Yeah, we had an exchange. It was very nice.
Bearfield had their party on the 22nd. And instead of taking gifts for exchange for in the group, we decided to all bring donations. And we're a pretty small group, so each person had brought one item that wouldn't have been very much. But we filled 4 great big bags of stuff, and that food was going to be taken to St. Teresa's. They have a Christmas outreach where they give out, and so we sent quite a bit of stuff, and also a Christmas card from the club. So I guess that was the last club that I was to before Christmas, was the 22nd of December. Now they're meeting again tonight. And then we have 2 more meetings and then our anniversary party.
Well, I believe that group was actually a break-off of the Anthony Wayne Club.
It was. Rich Cooper and Dr. Harold Raines, retired Baptist minister, are the 2 gentlemen that started that club. And initially it met at the airport there at well, it was Bearfield, of course, it's the International Airport now. And we met in the hotel, but jobs changed, the people moved, the people that were hosting the meeting in the hotel was the club president, and she got reassigned somewhere else. We lost our meeting place, bounced around to several different locations, but then for over 20 years we met at the Atz's there on Tillman Road. And that was a fabulous meeting room. It was huge. Had a lot of officer training, a lot of area contests in that room. It was really well done. Of course, business has changed.
Atz's.
Right, Atz's has gone out of business. I understand there's a new restaurant going in, but I haven't seen any activity over that way yet. But anyway, now we are meeting at the Waynedale Public Library on Lower Huntington Road. Right in Waynedale, it's at 2200 Lower Huntington Road. And since we started out in the Waynedale area, we're really glad to be back there. And we have dedicated members. We have about a half a dozen that are always there. And then we have 4 that are on the books as members, but they can't attend for one reason or another. So in about 3 weeks from tonight, we're going to have our anniversary party.
Very good.
So, and that's going to be, we hope, pretty well attended. We mailed the invitations day before yesterday, so I think you're on the list to get one, so you'll be invited. It's going to be at Hall's there on Bluffton Road on Tuesday the 26th, and that will be from like 6 to 8:30 in the evening. So,
Well, certainly, I've always had a good time when I visited your club. They're a good, genial group.
it's small. It's so small, and and we have to double up on everything all the time, and that really puts pressure on you to have a good meeting and do a good job. We have a really involved young lady right now. Her name is Susan Heine, and in her church she wants to become a lay minister, much I think like you did in the past. And one of the things she has to do is she has to attend a Toastmaster meeting and get her 10 speech certification as part of her training. So she's really whipping through that manual pretty fast.
Well, that's fascinating. I think it would be a better world if most managers had to go through that kind of training before they take over.
That's true. Oh, yeah. And as for the parliamentary world, we'll talk about that later, but that's something, too, that everybody really can use. And we're there to do it. There's a place out here in the lobby on the concourse, and its wall that says community outreach or community resources. And I was thinking that we should put some Toastmaster flyers or talk to the lady, and her name is Cheryl Ferverda. She's in charge of public relations. See if we could put those Toastmaster flyers out there. And for that matter, we might as well make some up of a trifold for the parliamentary group and put them there and let people know, because we really only reach people with the parliamentary when somebody has a problem. We don't have anybody say, gee, I'd like to go out there and study about parliamentary procedure. That doesn't happen. Well, the first half of the show we're supposed to talk about Toastmasters, and that's what we're kind of going to do. And I know you know a little bit about the structure of Toastmasters. Do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of how the organization is organized?
I would be happy to. Excuse me. Let me first of all apologize. I have a cold. Probably a wiser person would have stayed home. I kind of take the Japanese approach to it. No matter how sick I am, no matter how much my coworkers beg me, I come to work every day. So I do apologize for any inconvenience. But the Toastmasters are organized at a local level, a club level. There are about 15, 16 of them within the greater Fort Wayne area. Most of them are open to the general public. Some are closed for a certain organization or company. Then above that, they're formed usually in groups of 3 to 5 into what are called areas. I have been an area governor. I've helped watch over these small groups of clubs. Now the person that watches over them is not an area governor. They're an area director, but the areas are still called the same name, areas. Then those in turn are part of a division. There are 8 divisions, well, there are 7, probably will soon be 8 divisions in Indiana and northern Kentucky. So basically the northeastern part of Indiana is what they call Division B. The northwestern part is Division A. And those are, Patricia, who's not with us, was a division governor. The new term, which Adrian Maurer is carrying now, is division director. So you have club, area, division. Above that you have district. That's as high as most of us are familiar with in this area, that we have any real personal contact with. As I said before, the district is made up of the Indiana and northern Kentucky area. It's District 11. It's headquartered in Indianapolis. We meet twice a year for conferences, about half the time in Indianapolis. And above that, it goes on up to being a worldwide organization. They have their headquarters in Southern California. Not a serious problem. Sometimes it's a little bit of a time issue because they're not at work yet when most of us are up and going. They have to wait till about noon before it's 9 o'clock there. You have to call them, which I've done several times. They're very genial, very happy to help. It's a nonprofit organization. They have a worldwide presence here in many, many, many countries. And some other countries are growing much more rapidly than we are here in the U.S., but it's definitely a growing organization. I'm not sure how much more you might want to know or might want to fill in.
Oh, well, I might fill in a little bit about the beginnings of Toastmasters. It started it really took off when it was in 1924 in Santa Ana, California. But prior to that, over here in Illinois, in a little town called Waverly, Illinois, which is where Dr. Smedley was from, that's where he tried to start the first Toastmaster organization. And once again, he was the secretary of the YMCA there in Waverly. And for many years, there was a golf tournament amongst Toastmaster club presidents in Waverly, Illinois. And the last year that they had that was 84 and 85. And I joined Toastmasters in 1985. And I heard a little bit about this event over in Waverly, Illinois, that it was the Toastmaster Open, I guess it was called. And they gave trophies and had parties and so on. But in 1924, in a YMCA in Santa Ana, Dr. Smedley put together the first program which evolved into the Toastmaster structure, which is a 3-pronged program: giving speeches, getting advice, and then getting the feedback. And the feedback is where you grow. Now, the feedback does not come from somebody saying, you should have done this, or you didn't do that, that was no good. It's all done in a very positive manner. We tell people what they did well and suggest gently where they might improve in their next presentation. And if they listen to what we say, they certainly grow. I've had people say to me, oh, I don't see any improvement. I don't think I'm doing any good at all. And I had that same problem, and I was told way back then, don't look at what you're doing ahead. Look back where you were when you first started and see how you're moving forward. You're more comfortable, you don't talk as fast, you give better eye contact. Those are things that you can only learn by doing. And you can learn them in a Toastmaster setting. And Tom, as pointed out, it is indeed a club, not a class. It is not a class at all. You come, you pay your dues, you're a member of the club. As a member of the club, you put on the rotation to speak, you get manuals from Toastmasters International, and you grow at your own level. You're not forced, you're not pushed, you're allowed to develop your own way at the speed that you decide you want to.
No, absolutely. That's all very true, and it's all very important. It's so easy to become discouraged in this world. You spoke about not realizing the progress you've made. when you raise a child, they don't seem much different day to day. I mean, a year and 1 day old doesn't seem much different than a year old. But if the great-grandparents come to visit, and the last time they saw the kid was 5 years ago, it's phenomenal. He's, who would recognize him? And it's the same thing with Toastmasters. And pretty much all aspects of life. You just get better little by little by little. Today at an earlier meeting, somebody was complimented, we'll put that in quotation marks, that they had cut down their ahs from probably 50 in a speech to 10. Now, they felt kind of bad that they were still doing 10, but if you did 50 before, probably in a few more speeches they'll be doing 5, and then they won't be doing any.
That's right.
So it's gradual, continuous progress in a very positive environment. You are there with friends inevitably. If they're not friends, get a different group. But virtually always they're friends.
When you join Toastmasters, I think one of the things that finally happens is all of a sudden you're really aware, you listen to what other people are saying and how they're saying it. And if you're watching TV, you might even bump your wife and say, look, that person walked away from the lectern and just left the people standing there. Or did you hear how many ahs they said? Or, I don't think that speech was well done. That's when you know that you have caught the Toastmaster flame and it's starting to burn inside you and show you how to do it.
Well, that is about as close to a negative thing as you can say about Toastmasters, that people's inability to speak gets on your nerves. I've been on the verge of leaving meetings because I just couldn't take it. Marlene Purdy, who's often here with us, I think did get up and walk out of the meeting one time. She just couldn't take it anymore.
I understood that Smokey Montgomery one time heard a speaker, and while the speaker was talking, he was making little hash marks. And afterwards he called him over and said, look, you said 54 times, you said 12 times. I told the guy, well, this is what you did. Now that's why you need Toastmasters. I don't know that he got him, but at least Smokey showed that what he was doing was listening to what was going on. And everybody joins for different reasons. How did you happen to come into Toastmasters?
Well, as you alluded to earlier, the church I belong to has a lay ministry, which in English means we don't get paid for it. We take turns doing it. And I felt that the audience deserved a break, that it would be good if I was regularly speaking to them, that I knew how to do it. And also it was a leadership position. I could definitely have used some training in that area. I was not familiar with either aspect of life at all before this happened. And both Toastmasters and the church experience in and of itself were very good for me and very, very much growth opportunities. So I was very grateful for both of those.
Absolutely. And kind of similarly, I had read a lot of books over on philosophy and religion, and by the time 1985 rolled around, I decided that I had a message about God. I was going to tell these people, and by God, they were going to know, and this is the way it was going to be. So that was why I joined the Toastmaster Club. And they had this 6-week course called Speechcraft.
Yeah.
I went through that 6 weeks, in 6 weeks, and I thought, well, I'll get in, get out, and be done. And then that 7th week, I wanted to go back and hear somebody. And then I went back for the 8th week, and pretty soon I'd been there like 12 years and never missed a meeting. And along the way, you pick up doing some of the club offices, which is almost impossible not to, because there's such a thing as a railroad. Woo, choo, choo. They do get officers. But anyway, I found out that as much as I thought I knew about God and faith and religion, these people were pretty well educated, far and above me, and they were much nicer people than I was, and I thought I could learn from that. And along the way, I learned that listening was probably the single one of the most important skills that you learn to have. Not hearing, but listening. Because the difference is, you may hear with the ear, but you listen with your heart. What the message is behind what you're saying. That's what you want to really hear about. And it improved, among other things, my relationship with my wife. Because I began listening to her instead of just wanting to at her all the time. In fact, Toastmasters will change every single aspect of your life, because the unique structure of the organization allows you to have so many different ways of practicing and learning new skills. We can't all possibly give a speech every single week. That would just be nuts. But there's other jobs and other duties in a club where you learn public speaking skills in conjunction with those jobs. And every one of those builds your confidence and builds how you do things. And can you talk about some of the goals that actually a club has for people?
Okay. The club has club goals for itself. Also, the individual has all kinds of goals. It's up to the individual if they're interested in doing that or not. Typically they are. It's a very logical progression when you start. You have a manual called the Competent Communicator Manual, which has 10 speeches. You start by giving your first speech called the Icebreaker, with which you can hardly go wrong unless your twin brother's there and he knows you're making it up because it's your life. You tell it, however you want to. Nobody can contradict you. Nobody has any particular expectations of it. It's a baseline from which you start. Then you gradually, one at a time, go through the other speeches covering topics such as gestures. It's somewhat larger than gestures. It's entire body movement, voice modulation, researching your article, getting to the point. So there's a whole series of 10. And that's all some people do. They're content to have done that. Some leave the organization at that point. Some also just start over and do them over and over again. I probably am I'm not quite at 20 times, but I'm getting close to. I'm in the high teens of doing the Competent Communicator, CC manual. But then there are also advanced manuals you can have. They're wide range. Usually there are 5 speeches. Well, always there are 5 speeches in each manual. You do 2 of those. There's generally a few other requirements. And you move up a rung. You're a competent communicator when you complete the first one. You're a bronze, advanced speaker bronze, something like that, silver. And eventually you become a DTM. I've actually been around the program twice to be a DTM twice. There's also the leadership track. You have what's called a competent leader manual. For the 99% part of that, it's simply a matter of whatever you do that day, you check it off. If you're the timer, you check off the timing slot. Somebody will silently grade you on, not really grade you, but will evaluate you on that. There are usually about 3 questions. And so this is just done between you and he, not spoken of in the club. But it has all kinds of things like being Toastmaster, General Evaluator, Speaker Evaluator, etc., etc. Then there are a few of them that are a little harder to come by, such as organizing a club event. Now you can certainly do this, as fewer and fewer clubs seem to be having speech contests. It's a little harder to check off the one for doing a speech contest. Nonetheless, it can be done, and it is done. So you have these 2 manuals you're working your way through. When you get to a certain point, they converge, and then you become a DTM. Clubs have the Distinguished Club Program, which means they meet all kinds of criteria. That's probably a different topic, but basically it's, meeting goals. All small goals, but collectively they add up to being a pretty important topic.
Well, all those goals, if you accomplish the goals, then your club is doing its mission of providing education for the various members. Something else that we get in a Toastmaster setting is officer training. In each club there is a complement of 7 people who hold different offices, each one with duties, each one with goals to accomplish. And the thing is, wow, we have a phone call. Caller, are you there?
Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Well, I just had a question. If you had any, let me turn my TV set down. I had a question about if you help out with the youth in the schools and that with their speech and debate teams, or their business professionals have a parliamentary procedure team.
Oh, wow. Well, that's actually two questions, and both of them are very good. When it comes to the youth and the young people, Toastmasters offers a program called Youth Leadership that is handled entirely by the members of a particular club. The materials are provided by the club. In fact, they have to pay for them. There's no cost to the students at all. And that's a youth leadership program, and it's oftentimes done in conjunction with a Boy Scout troop or Future Farmers of America or some group like that. But it's a 6-week course in public speaking where over the course of that time you learn how to put a speech together, you practice having a meeting, you also give 2 or 3 speeches plus some 1-minute table topics. As for the parliamentary world, or the adult world, we have something called speech craft. And the speech craft is an 8-week course, or 6-week course, depending on how you do it. Again, put on by a particular club or group. We here in Division B have called on the resources of all of the clubs in Division B to put on a speech craft, and they're held at the community center. Are we doing one of those right now?
We are not doing one currently. We've done maybe 4 of them so far, but not right now.
Okay. Thank you for that question, caller. That was great.
Could I respond a little bit more? There's also what's called a gavel club, which could very well be for the youth. It often is. I know that until recently there was a homeschool group that did a gavel club. It's for anyone who couldn't belong to a regular club. You have to be 18 to be a Toastmaster, but pretty much any age could have their own gavel club. This could apply to people who are in prison who, can't get out, so to speak. But there's that aspect of it. I don't know currently if there are any schools that are teaching parliamentary procedure or not. There have been at times. I had a brother-in-law who's recently retired from Cherubusco school system who was in charge of the parliamentary instruction.
Okay.
But I don't know of any. There may be some, but I don't know of any.
You know, Tom, the Anthus Career Center here in Fort Wayne oftentimes had a parliamentary unit, and it was part of the, is it FFA, is Future Farmers of America?
Well, that
Or VICA Club, Vocational Industrial.
vocational education.
Yeah.
That was what my brother-in-law taught. That was how he happened to be involved in
Now, the instructor they had there at the Anthus Center, his name was Dave Leitner, and he taught a class, and they actually took their class on competitions to use parliamentary procedure in a structured meeting, and they actually came to visit the Bob Wyman Parliamentary Unit and performed for us one time. It was pretty fun. I don't know that he's doing that anymore. He might be retired now. But it's something that, if somebody wants it, we will come and do it, whether parliamentary or Toastmaster, either one, we'll put together a group for you. We're all about outreach. We just don't know how to do it.
No, absolutely. If you'd want to get in touch with us again later, we'd be happy to work with you in more detail if you were wanting to start something. These things would not necessarily go through us in any sense of the word, so some of this could be going on and we wouldn't know about it. But I'm not specifically aware of any going on right now. I never quite got the connection between parliamentary procedure and VOAG, but there does seem to be one, and there are fewer and fewer VOAG classes. That's something that schools are cutting out. A smaller and smaller percentage of the people.
Vocational agricultural.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be something called the Grade, where farmers would belong to that, and that was an organization that required president, vice president, money, secretary, treasurer, and so on. And so it was helpful for those people who were part of those groups, the Grange, to know how to conduct a meeting effectively. So there would have been a real reason for doing that. Actually, there's a real reason for using parliamentary procedure and public speaking in almost all aspects of life, because it can't be emphasized enough. And we do it in a club setting. It's pretty reasonable to join. We can't talk about money on Access Fort Wayne, but trust me, you can afford it.
Well, listen, I don't know if our caller is still with us or not. Was there any more to your question? Have we answered it, if you're there?
He's gone. He's gone. Okay. Well, other things to talk about would be officer training. As we started talking about that. There are 7 officers in each club, and we have training sessions twice a year for them to learn from the leaders in the district the ways to do their job effectively. It's also a time for them to meet and get together and network and have a good time. Beyond that, there are Toastmaster contests. Now, in everyday Toastmaster life, the only person you're competing with is yourself, hoping to improve the next time. But you've had a lot of involvement with contests, either running them or being judges. Do you want to talk about that for a minute, Tom?
Well, I think that the contests are one of the more fun parts of Toastmasters. I have been everything from the person in charge of them to a contestant to a member of the audience, and it's a lot of fun. It's one of the best ways to spend a Saturday morning that you can think of, and there are some really good speeches come out of these. Not every speech, but there's some really good speeches, and it starts at the club level, then goes to the area level, then the division level, and on to the district level. We have them on a number of different topics, but all of them, except the international speech, ends at the district level. Humorous speech contests, table topic contests, so forth. Tall tales contests, evaluation contests, these end at the district level. However, the international goes on. It's a worldwide thing. We've had a Fort Wayne person, Janine Harold, and possibly others that I'm not aware of before her, who went on to the international level. If you're successful in that, you will probably quit your day job and go on the rubber chicken tour and make a living that way, because that's quite a prestigious thing to win that.
I know of 2 other people besides Janine. One was Doug Cox. He went all the way to the international, and I believe he came in 3rd at the international level, which out of 9 people, that's pretty high up. And then another person, years before I joined, was an attorney here in Fort Wayne named Dalton McAllister, and he went to the international contest. So by going through these various levels of club, area, division, district, you're filtering out each time the best of the best of the best until when you get to that 4th level, the district level, you've got some pretty stiff competition going on.
Yeah, and I fully agree with that. I've enjoyed not only that, I've also found fascinating the, shall we say, the rules of it. There are things come up all the time you never think of. TI has done this forever, and they have a pretty good grasp of it. Sometimes a local judge can be caught flat-footed. One time someone passed out some cards ahead of time. Well, nobody thought about it. The person didn't win, but they should have been disqualified because basically their speech, by TI's standards, started when they passed out those cards, which was several hours before they spoke, and they only have a 5 to 7 minute time range in which to speak. So,
okay. I wasn't even aware of that. Was that a district? Or
it was at a district level. It was probably 3 years ago, give or take.
Oh my gosh, okay. Okay, well, we're running off. We're going to switch over here in just a moment, but let's take a moment and talk about some of the clubs that we belong to and where they meet and when. And so, why don't you start? Okay,
well, both of us are multi-club members. Both of us belong to Anthony Wayne, which meets every Thursday night at at Ivy Tech, the main campus on Coliseum, room 1362. All evening clubs meet at 6:30 in the Fort Wayne area. Not necessarily the whole world, but around Fort Wayne, they all meet at 6:30. So that's the Anthony Wayne Club. It will be meeting this Thursday. I also belong to the Red Cross Club, which met at noon today, every Tuesday. They meet in the Red Cross building, which is actually just off Coliseum, too. And I also belong to the Advanced Speakers and Leaders, which is a closed club. It's for those that have completed their competent communicator manual and belong to another club. It's designed expressly for those who are working their way through the longer speeches. The first speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. You can, easily work 2, 3. We have at times worked 4 of those through a meeting. But if you get into a 20-minute speech in a club that only meets for an hour, that's a real issue. So the advanced speakers and leaders provides a real service. I'm also part of the Bob Lyman Club, which meets the second and fourth Mondays at the Pizza Hut in
Northcrest.
in Northcrest.
Okay.
I'm run down.
Oh, okay. Well, the one we haven't mentioned is the Bearfield Toastmasters. Well, I mentioned it earlier. They're going to be celebrating their 30th anniversary the 26th of this month, and that'll be at Halls on Bluffton Road. But their regular meetings, the regular Tuesday night meetings from 6:30 till 8, going on right now, is at the Waynedale Public Library, 2200 Lower Huntington Road. And if you want to stop in and visit us, we'd love to have you. It's a small group, so if you're afraid of a big group of people, that's the best one to visit. It's also the best club on the south side of Fort Wayne. And there are others. There is the Essex Club. And
Yeah, there are clubs that meet all times. I mean, I don't know of any that meet in the middle of the night, but there's one that meets at 7:30, 7 or 7:30 in the morning. There are a lot of them that meet in the evening at different nights of the week. And there are some that meet at noontime. And there are a couple of the closed clubs that meet in odd times during the day.
Right, okay. Well, that pretty well takes care of the first half of our program. I don't know if they're ready to do the switch over, and we're going to then talk about Robert's Rules of Order, if we happen to belong to that group too. So if you're ready, we'll go to a little bit of a break now.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Lichner.
Nomine Padre et Filii Spiritui Sancti.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer. He says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Doctor says, chicken says,
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
the chicken.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
Something ready.
Well, we're back here with the other half of the program, the parliamentary half, and we're operating kind of a short-staffed tonight. Of course, Tom and I are sitting here doing the show, but I want to be sure to thank Dennis Osborne and Otto Boucher. They're the ones responsible for getting us on the air and having the studio set up and everything looks nice. So Otto, Dennis, you guys are great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And remember, too, this is a call-in show. It's 422-3902. And we now want to talk about Robert's Rules of Order, the parliamentary book. And I would ask you, Tom, how did you get started with the Parliamentary Club?
Well, Dave, you know perfectly well how I got started. You approached me about it repeatedly.
Oh, that.
But beyond that, almost from the time I joined Toastmasters, have been a president. I'm not sure if it's been continuous, but very nearly continuously, of one club or another. Not all of them survived, unfortunately, but I was president of them. And you really do need to learn some parliamentary procedure if you're going to do that. I recall being acutely embarrassed when members of the audience would correct me when I would do things wrong. Now, it's probably better than doing things wrong and leaving them stand, but if you're going to conduct a meeting, you need to have parliamentary procedure. There are other parliamentary authorities besides Robert's Rules of Order, but that is the Toastmaster parliamentary procedure for all Toastmaster gatherings, and probably about 95% of the other gatherings. I mean, some groups have their own procedure. Some people will change Robert's Rules of Order in ways that, you know, they're permitted to. But by and large, Robert's Rules of Order is what most organizations that you'll encounter have.
That's very true, Bob. And all the organizations that we belong to, and our parliamentary unit here in Fort Wayne, all the organizations that all of our members belong to, use just one authority, and that is, of course, Robert's Rules, which has been around since 1876 and has been the standard by which most meetings have been judged since it first came out. He didn't invent the wheel or reinvent the wheel. He used common sense, logic, and rationality, and I think that's what I like about the book, that it is so rational and logical. And we here in Fort Wayne are a part of a larger group, the National Association of Parliamentarians, which was started like in 1923 or 24, and they used Henry Roberts' book, Robert's Rules of Order, as their primary, and until now, only parliamentary authority. And, of course, at this present time, Tom, you are the president of our local chapter. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Well, we meet here at the we meet here at the library the third Monday of every month. We meet in the Globe Room. If you come on the main floor of the library here in downtown Fort Wayne, you'll see a very, very large globe. And right back of that is where we meet. Very nice room, very access friendly. We are a small group. There are not that many of us that belong, but the public is welcome, and you're also welcome to join. You can attend with us as often, as much as you would like. To become a member, there is a test to pass. It's quite doable. You have to do a little bit of studying, but you can do it. And we attempt to provide aid, and frequently do provide aid, to all kinds of organizations. If you have not been following parliamentary procedure, there's a good chance that the organization has gotten off track somewhere along the line. We have helped groups from reenactors to homeowners associations to just about anything you'd want to name. So we attempt to be of service to the public.
You know, I had a call from a fella from his church group, and he had questions about a board meeting that they had. They have a 7-member board, and there was a motion on the floor, the kind of motion that would pass with a majority. And the motion was stated, and of those 7 board members, 6 of them abstained, and 1 voted for the motion. And his question to me was, what happened? Well, the answer is the motion passed. And he said, I can't hardly believe that. And I said, well, in Robert's Rules, where it says how decisions are made, is that those who are present and voting make the decisions. Now, you can be present, and if you don't vote, all you're doing is taking up space and using up air, because you if you're there to help decide something, you should make a stand one way or the other. So 6 people with no guts to vote one way or the other did not vote, and the motion was sustained by a single vote by one member who had the courage to stand up and say what they wanted. I never did find out what they were voting on, but he was...
Yeah, I mean, you would be obviously completely correct. It would be a majority. That would be a majority voting for that. There wouldn't be any question about it. I would wonder what was going on and wonder if perhaps that needed to be delved into more deeply. But from a parliamentary standpoint, it is that simple.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, Roberts was their parliamentary authority. So did we give the time that our club meets from 6:30 to 8 p.m. on that third Monday of the month here in the Globe Room?
I probably did not, but I should have. Okay. It's kind of a thing with Toastmasters and the parliamentarians. I mean, around the world it probably varies, but in the greater Fort Wayne area, all the clubs meet at 6:30. It's just what we do.
And the majority of our members in the parliamentary club are also members of the Toastmaster organization. And it just shows that there is such a connection in between. And the reason I think that there is simply because we're always trying to learn excellence in communication while we're trying to learn excellence in leadership with the parliamentary. And actually, Toastmasters International uses Robert's Rules as the foundation or the basis for their bylaws and their organization. Now, they do diverge here and there from what the rules say in the book, but that's okay. You're allowed to do that. For example, Roberts very clearly states that if you're in a meeting and someone has presented a motion and someone else says second, the name of the seconder does not need to be required to be recorded. But in our Toastmaster organization, oh my goodness, they've got to get the name of the maker of the motion, and they have to have the name and the club number of the seconder of the motion too. It wastes time and it doesn't make anything run better. So some of the goals of our club is outreach, and of course that's where we kind of fall down. I think we try. We'd really try. Yeah. One of the things we have a really cool gavel collection, gavels, But seriously, there are some interesting gavels in our collection, and they do represent a cross-section of America, and they were collected by a man named Wilkins some years ago. And by a curious roundabout way, they ended up in my front bedroom, which is where they're at right now. We'll be displaying those probably in the month of April here. And one of the things we like to do is offer training now, but we've got to have live warm bodies to train. Right. So if you want us to come and help train your officers or give you advice on how to conduct your meetings, we would be very happy to do that. We will come at no charge, bring materials, and do whatever we need to get your group up and running. One of the things that we're going to talk about is some common questions. Do you recall any questions that you have been asked that you needed to have answered over the years?
Well, over the years there have been quite a few questions. One of the ones that was more interesting to me, in your absence, I was, must have been a conference, maybe a deck meeting, I'm not sure. Must have been a conference. Someone walked up while the president, the chairman of the organization, was carrying on and handed me a note and asked if we could call the question. And I knew immediately that we couldn't do that it was wrong, and I just shook my head and bowed the word no, and the person moved on. But I could not have, for the life of me, thought why that was true. I could not have defended that position for anything had I had to at that moment in time. Now, what they were asking was, could they cut off the speaker and just vote on the motion now without going on it more? Mm-hmm. Well, finally, and I do mean finally, after a considerable period of time, it dawned on me that there was a very good reason they couldn't do that. The person was not speaking to a motion. He was just giving us information. There was no motion on the floor. Therefore, we couldn't vote on it.
That's one of the big time wasters in a meeting is you have to, you should have no discussion without a motion. I don't care what the motion is. You got to have it. You can debate it for and against. But with no motion, it's just babble, wasting time, babble. And that's what happens in a lot of meetings. The people are talking around in a circle and coming back and saying the same thing over again without any direction. And you need to have direction. So,
yeah, one of the other questions that comes up periodically concerns bylaws. Can we vote to change the bylaws? Well, of course you can change your bylaws, but there are things you have to do. You have to give advance notice, and when you vote on them, you have to have a 2/3 vote, favorable vote. And you should have a quorum. Excuse me. A quorum can be hard to come by in some organizations, and that is something that varies. Robert's Rules of Order has a specific suggestion for quorum, but if your organization decides different, or if at different levels, and like in TI, they have different requirements for a quorum, that's perfectly legal.
Yeah, your quorum is whatever your organization sets it to be. And in the absence of your organization setting a quorum, Robert's Rule says is the majority of the members would be a quorum. And you were asking me before we went on the air, you're going to be serving as parliamentarian for our district. What if we don't get a quorum? What can we do? Well, technically, you can't do anything. You can either call for a recess, go out and try to find enough people to make up the quorum, or fix the time to which to adjourn, which means that we'll stop the meeting here right now, and we'll pick it up at a predetermined later date. But that later date has to be before the next regularly scheduled conference meeting would be. But that's not going to happen because the Toastmasters only come together twice a year, and they have to set policy, elect officers, decide how they're going to spend money. Those are the things that they're going to do. So what can our officers do in Toastmasters if they can't get a quorum? And what they have to do is the minutes of the meeting have to be sent to every single member, every single club president in your realm or district or whatever it is. You have to send it to all the district presidents, and then a majority of them have to sign off and ratify those minutes and return that information to you. Once you see that you have a majority of the clubs ratifying the minutes, then those minutes become valid as if there was actually a quorum at the meeting. That's the only thing you can do. Now, there have been times in the past where an organization starts out really great. Wow, lots of people, lots of enthusiasm, they come all the time, and they set the quorum really high. Well, Robert's Rule says that your quorum should be set at a number you can reasonably expect to have on a rainy, cold, wet, sloppy, snowy, slushy night. And so that might drop your quorum, say, from 30, maybe down to like 5 or 6. But at least you can conduct business. So you got this high quorum and nobody comes and there's not enough people there. You can't rearrange your bylaws. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Bob Lyman always said that what you do is send a written notice to every member of the club that on this certain date we're going to come together and we're going to redo the bylaws with a new quorum so we can continue to conduct business. And what will constitute a quorum that night is those who show up. And that will be it. But you've had public notice that this is what we're going to do and this is how it's going to end up. So aside from using the rules in the book to follow how to do things, sometimes you just have to almost make up your own rules and use common sense to be fair to those who are there, those who are absent, and those who want to make the organization go. You have to try to keep fairness with all of those. Well, we're getting down to the last couple minutes. I don't have any other questions right now that I can bring up. Perhaps we should revisit then when our meetings are. which are the third Monday here in the library from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And those are open to the public. Just come in. You can check us out. We'd love to have you join us. You can become a provisional member by just paying $5 and becoming a provisional member of the group, and we would like that too. So anyway, we're starting to run out of time. Remember, there's Toastmaster clubs all over Fort Wayne that you can visit. We'd love to have you come visit them. There's the Bob Lyman Club. There's the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters. There's the Red Cross Club. And, of course, we mentioned the Bear Field Club. And those are all clubs that are open to the public. We're here to help you become better communicators and better leaders. So for both of those things, I want to thank you for watching tonight. I want to again thank Otto Boucher and Dennis Osborne. And Tom, I want to thank you for being here tonight. This has been a really lonely hour without you. And do you have any final thoughts you'd like to give to the audience?
No, well, let me say the quorum is a tricky thing. It's very important, but sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. In Toastmasters, you need to send in your new officer list every year. It's just something has to be done. You should have a quorum to vote on them. If you don't have a quorum, you're going to have to wing it. You're just going to have to go ahead and send in the list anyway. Generally, if there's no money involved or the money's insignificant, there probably won't be a quorum issue. Or if there is, they can't sue you for any money. So,
well, and there is no parliamentary police. They're not going to come around and bang on your bean with a gavel because you didn't do it exactly right. But by and large, you want to try and do it as right as you possibly can. So until next month, this is Dave Wilkins for the Speakers and Leaders Hour saying thank you for watching this evening, and may all your meetings be fair and efficient. And God bless and good night.